Hey everybody, this is Jack with SGTV. A couple of weeks ago, or a couple videos ago, it was suggested that we do some veteran hard mode runs on some dungeons. And so Solus and myself here were we were planning to run Vet Direfrost Keep, and just so everybody's aware, I'm kind of talking over this after the fact, so that way I can fully capture everything going on in the dungeon. It's exceedingly more difficult to talk about than while you're playing it than it is to do it after the fact. Um, Anyhow, our original plan was to run Dire Frost, and instead we end up running Tempest Island. Um, so before we get started here, Tempest Island is a dungeon that is located in Malabal Tor, and which is in the Aldmeri Dominion. Um, the light set that comes out of there is Overwhelming Surge, the medium is Storm Master, and the heavy is Jolting Arms. And then the monster set, Monster Helm specifically, is Stormfist. Um, we waited around in queue forever, which is why this part of the video is funny. So I and QS random queue for a vet dungeon, and immediately we get in. So, anyhow, once we get going, I'm going to do my best to capture everything. Now, Tempest Island it's a dungeon that has a good amount of trash mobs in certain areas. Um, there are 3 bosses and 3 mini bosses in this dungeon. Alright, so we're in. Let's get moving. Right out of the gate, you have a lot of trash mobs, a lot of Lamias and Sea Vipers. They're not too terrible. As you can see, we're skipping some of this, which tears my nerves up. I hate going into content and skipping any part of it, honestly. Maybe it's just a personal preference, maybe it's not, but I feel like you wouldn't run into so many pug groups that are just pretty much outright terrible if this didn't happen. So, but anyhow, yeah, personal preference, probably. If you can skip it, you can kill it. That's my outlook. So, the quest in here, which I've already done, has you destroying conduit stones, which I'll try to point those out as we go along. We should be not too far away from coming up on the first mini boss, which is I'm probably gonna there's a real good chance I'm gonna slaughter this name, but it's Sonolia the Matriarch. It's the first mini boss. The tank should face this boss away. She has heavy attacks and resonates, which is that right there. You can see where she screams to kind of deal with the trash mob that's in the area around her. The tank can pull them in, specifically the ranged ones, to try and stack and burn. That's usually your best option. This was a rather quick run. We ended up in a good pickup group as far as burning, killing everything goes. So, but yeah, that first mini boss, the Matriarch, not too rough. just heavy attacks and resonates, and I'll put timestamps in the video description so that way everybody can see where they're at. Here we have another large pack of trash mobs, and it just, throughout this dungeon, it just kind of goes like this. And for anybody interested, that pink cone, you can interrupt that. That pink cone, you can interrupt that. Or you can kill it. But basic mechanics of the game they're there to make the gameplay easier for you. So, see, as you can see, interrupted popped up on the screen right in the middle. Let's see here. So, yeah, pretty much all this dungeon is running from mob to mob, making sure you don't die along the way. Or I guess, let's not, oh, yeah, I forgot. I got an achievement. I run this dungeon a lot. I guess making sure we don't die along the way is really Solus's job. I'm going to tell him that. Anyhow, here's Valaran Stormcaller. He has a lightning storm, which is the big AoE that you can see on the ground. He's got chain lightning, which target you and nearby allies with lightning strike from time to time. He also has crushing blows. He can summon a lightning avatar, which needs to be killed. And invading bolt deals a moderate amount of damage and stuns you if you don't avoid it. And can happen to anybody in the group. So make sure you want to make sure your health is not too low. And we're moving on. And this is a smaller pack. The bigger one is at the top of the hill. We did a lot of just pull it all to one place through this run, which is part of what made the run so quick. That and a good amount of damage output. So we are coming up here shortly on the second mini boss. As far as difficulty of content goes, none of this particular dungeon is too rough, I guess is a good way to say it. None of it's too rough to get through. It's one of the earlier dungeons. I will look and put in the comments when this dungeon came out. I should be a little more educated on this, but it's not too rough. It's nowhere near, even on vet hard mode, it's nowhere near the difficulty of some of the newer dungeons, which may be coming in the future. We may just start running the newer stuff and go backwards from there. The original idea was to start at the beginning, kind of like whenever I was doing the solo dungeon runs. But like, who wants to see Fungal Grotto again? Alright, so this is Yalorasse the Speaker. It was the second mini boss, and it's not particularly hard, which none of them necessarily are. This boss does quick strikes, which is a heavy attack. Cannon should be blocked, otherwise you're going to be stunned, or rather not stunned, but thrown to the ground. And then there's quick shot, which is a whirlwind attack. The boss spins around herself and causes a lot of damage, which was seen there in the video. And then there's lightning. It's an AoE spell which you can cast from time to time. It only causes slight damage, but if you have enough coming in, you should avoid it. And I just stood there and looked at the door like a ding dong. So That's alright though. And pack to pack, here we go. Alright, we're coming up on Stormfist now. We're actually right outside the area for Stormfist. And this is also right after this boss where this dungeon breaks. Alright, so Stormfist has his fist. The tank continues tanking the boss, faced away from the group. Shouldn't be too much of a problem for melee characters, but otherwise it will affect everyone standing close to the tank. The hand spawns from the ground, crushing everyone who's inside of it, which is what the monster set does. Burst. From time to time, the boss bursts with energy and sends out smaller pools of lightning. Try to avoid them, they will cause a large amount of damage. He's got a stomp, which is a large AoE and will throw you into the air. That's the stomp right there. And you can see the people got thrown into the air. And then Impending Storm, around 25% health, the boss will start to enrage like most Storm Atronachs. Bursts into an AoE of constant lightning, causing a lot of damage. Focus the boss and just kill it at that point to stop too much incoming damage. That door that we just went through normally breaks, and it's because there's an ad that gets stuck behind a wall sometimes when you queue into this dungeon, which is real annoying. Because you can't go through doors when you're in combat. And as long as that ad is trying to get to you, you're in combat. And I figured this out running this dungeon solo once, trying to farm a set. This character wears Overwhelming Surge. Because it's actually a decent set. And anyway, alright, so we are coming up on the last mini boss in this dungeon, who is placed kind of oddly in the middle of a gigantic trash pack. Your tank can make your life easier if they take everything in here and just try to stack it. So Commodore Ohmamil has Ethereal Grip. One random group member gets caught in a purple storm orb and will incapacitate the player but will not cause any damage. And then Uppercut, which is the boss's heavy attack. It deals a good amount of damage. It can be blocked. Ideally, the tank will receive this. So you're not too bad. Burned him down, got through it. Again, there's nothing. Tempest Island is not, I know it comes from the second of the three when you pick up Undaunted pledges, but it's just really, it's not too bad. Especially not if you end up in a group like this one where, there's a good amount of damage output to deal with all the mobs, and everyone seems to know what's going on. So, it makes life a lot easier if everyone knows what's going on in a dungeon. Which is not a reason to not run it, by the way. Look, interrupt. I guess I put an interrupt on my bar. I don't know. Maybe I did do that. No, I'm just kidding. So many people forget the basic mechanics of how things work, and it's frustrating, really, because you have people, you'd be running a dungeon, people rage quit, and things like that. Here in a second, I run ahead just to make sure that hard mode is activated, because I didn't really ask. Normally I run dungeons, and I believe hard mode is you seeing the game as it was meant to be seen. Alright, so this is Stormreeve Neidir. This is the last and final boss in Tempest Island, and has quite a few things going on. So we have Sparking Strike, which is arguably the worst ability, is what will define the entire strategy of the boss. It's a large AoE that she summons, which should be avoided at all costs, especially on Vet. It will kill you, which is that right there. Charge happens if a player stands too far away. Can be used by the tank to reposition her, but otherwise everyone should be standing at a distance where she doesn't charge. Just stay out of that. Stay out of that AoE right there. Gusts of Wind, which you can kind of see on screen. It's a really annoying mechanic. It's going to happen throughout the entire fight. If wind hits you, it makes you topple. You lose control of your character for a few seconds. Hope it doesn't happen while the AoE happens. You have lightning strikes, which deal a moderate amount of damage for melee attack. Goes to the one holding aggro, which is ideally the tank, and then electroshock. Randomly, she will send out a lightning shock to a random player. It can be blocked, but it will cause a lot of damage if it's not. Hard mode increases health and damage in this fight. Sometimes hard mode adds more mechanics. It doesn't, but it does add a lot more damage, and her health is increased a good amount. So, anyhow, that was Tempest Island. I thank everybody for the group. Always do that. Good player etiquette. That is the first installment in our Vet hard mode guide videos. And this is me fumbling through the wrong tabs, which is cool, you know. Anyhow, excuse me. Sorry. I didn't mean to do that in everybody's ear. Yeah, so pretty quick dungeon run. Tempest Island's not too bad. I'll make sure I put timestamps for all of the boss fights in the description below the video. That way everybody can reference them if you are having trouble on one particular boss, or would just like to learn more so you know what's going on. Maybe you're thinking about tanking, or you know, playing some other role aside from DPS. Anyhow, we always appreciate anytime somebody from the community that we have built has some kind of suggestion. This is where this came from, actually, and we'd like to have more of them. So that's pretty much it. That's all I've got. If you like the video, please like it and share it. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell icon so you get notifications anytime we post videos. I know we've been kind of struggle busing in here lately, but life happens sometimes, and we came at building this channel up real hard, and then some things happened for both Spy and myself, and in real life, and we had to throttle it back a little bit. And plus, Spy had, a large project he was working on, which didn't exactly pan out the way it was planned, but he's back now. So, all right, everybody, that is going to be it for the video. I will see you guys in the next one.